Talkopolis, the social media TV network for your city.
I'm TJ Cates. I'm here today with Vicki Potus Jacobs, and we're going to be speaking today on the topic of untimely deaths. And Vicki, that's something that you've gotten together in the past few years since you've had some grieving things going on, and you've reached out to some other families in Tennessee, right?
That is correct, TJ, and thank you so much for having me. And this is probably the first real opportunity I've had to show the world the huge gaping hole that is left with a parent who loses a child. Many years ago, I lost a daughter in a tragic way, and this isn't about me or Samantha, the daughter that died when she was 18. This is about helping other parents who are literally stuck to the floor when something like this happens. There are no coping skills unless it's happened before.
I know it's just got to be so tough, and I know we talked earlier in the week about some of the things you've been through, and I think it's great that you're trying to help so many different people that are going through it, and maybe they don't have anybody that's been through it before. Let's just say, what was one of your first reactions? I know me, when somebody loses someone, my first reaction is to say, I'm so sorry, is there anything I can do? Is that helpful at all, or is there something better that we need to be saying?
Well, certainly in the initial state of shock, if you have other responsibilities, as most people do, you sort of go into take care of it mode. And the other children, or maybe you have a spouse that might be ill. In my case, that was the case. I had a spouse who was dying, and I get a phone call at 3 a.m. that my daughter has been killed.
That is just so tough.
Subsequently, you go into take care of it mode, and that's what I did. Shortly thereafter, I felt it so necessary to get to the parent who has never experienced such a heart-wrenching loss. It's something that can wipe you out, many parents will identify with this topic, I really feel, because you don't know what to do. You have you have no coping skills because it probably hasn't happened before.
Well, what would you think of your 60 hours of footage that you have all these various people and their circumstances? What would you think that somebody, once they start watching the show and then they're going to watch the video and see what other people have been through, do you think it's going to help them? I mean, what are they going to get from other people in the way that they've grieved under the same situations?
When I want to address the audience by saying, when I first was shocked with the news, and subsequent months and days and months and years after, I had no one that could really tell me or give me a plan of action, what to do. I couldn't walk, I couldn't speak, I couldn't think, yet I had 2 other children I had to take care of. My hope, TJ, is that they will be able to have a source, a tape, some footage that they can watch and look at each parent that has been interviewed. Each parent has a different story. One child dies by fire, one by disease, one by suicide. And therefore, I can't feel what the parent feels who's had a child die by suicide.
Right.
Mine was in a car wreck.
Right.
So we don't grieve the same. But this footage will be common to everyone because I have interviewed different parents that have lost children in different manners, and they will show and help other parents navigate through their loss.
That's great. Well, you're speaking of the footage. Let's go ahead and roll the footage, and maybe you can talk and tell everybody a little bit about what you've captured here.
All right. Samantha was 18, and she was driving home and basically hit it at a very high rate of speed. Let's talk about new life. This is a friend of mine who had just had a baby. You expect all of what's normal. You're born. You live. You go to work. You may get married. You may have children. And then suddenly, when you're going down this road, it stops. And what your life was is no longer. And now, what do I do with my life? I've been defined in a certain way. You know, you never expect to go to a cemetery and put your own child 6 feet under. And that's exactly what happens. Who would think in this lifetime, and it happens to so many people, who would think that 1 minute your child is here, whether they have been lingering for 7 years by disease.
The day of his diagnosis.
This is this is Dr. Goldner.
I had
I'd
been
like to hear
running in the
what he
neighborhood,
has to say.
jogging, and when I came in, there was a phone call, and he told me that he had bad news. They told him at surgery that the great thing is that it's all contained.
I woke up and I knew that something was wrong and that somewhere somebody was in trouble. When I was about 3 years old, or maybe 4, I'm not sure exactly what my age was, I had this very strange experience, which I think accounts for everything, for my being the way I am. And I remember going down in the water, and it was real dark. And I think what I did was had an afterlife experience. I think that's what happened.
And she knew and felt that something was wrong, and she prayed for Samantha. So
that's an amazing story. Just the connection between a parent and a child, whether they're here or not. It's like they never leave, and they're always with you.
And that's something else that I would love to address, TJ. People don't want to talk about your child for fear they're going to cause you more pain.
I've been guilty of that myself. Like I said, I never know what to say.
I didn't either. You know, I knew so many people, uncles, friends in Nashville, because I grew up here, and so I knew a lot of people who had lost children. And I would always back up from them. I didn't know what to say to them. Wow. After Samantha was killed, I knew exactly what to say to them. And it's very simple. Well, almost nothing, TJ.
I'm hoping that by people watching this every week, they're going to kind of gain a little bit more ground. If it's people like me that haven't really gone through a lot of grieving, or if it's people like you that have been through more than you deserve. I just hope that this kind of helps everybody out. So
I hope so too. I really believe that this will be a source that you can go to when you can't get your legs off the ground,
right? And
you have no one to talk to at 2 a.m.
Does it just affect their sleep? I mean, do they dream about it? Do they think that the person is there and they wake up and it hits you in the morning?
Well, I would imagine everyone has something a little different. But the images that go through your head, from gory to hopeless to imagine walking into a garage and seeing your son with a noose around his neck.
I couldn't imagine. I cannot imagine.
And when you lay your head down at night, sure, those images are there. You know, people do say, I'm so sorry about your child, and of course they mean, and I am too, and they mean well, and everything you can say to someone, if it's just listening, if it's just holding their hand, if it's, let's go have a cup of coffee, and if they don't want to talk, it's okay, a hug is good too.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty good at hugging, so I hope that this does help some people. So I want to thank you, Vicki, for coming in, and we're going to talk about this untimely death every week, and we're going to have a new episode. So we hope that you tune in every week, and Vicki will be right here by my side, and we're going to continue to show the footage that she's gained over the state of Tennessee for the past year. And 60 hours of footage is a lot, and these stories, what I've learned from her in this past week has just been remarkable. So thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you, TJ.
Bandwidth for today's show is brought to you by SoftLayer.com. We love SoftLayer here at Talkopolis. They are the greatest hosting company ever. They make everything easy. Check out their website at SoftLayer.com. Thanks again for sponsoring the show.